Hey, this is Stephen Amell, and you are listening to Tomorrow's Legends, the podcast. Don't fail your city.
The Union of Justice has fought evil for 90 years. But their time is coming to an end. Soon, the world must rely on their children for protection, for hope, for all mankind. This is Jupiter's legacy, as documented by Tomorrow's Legends.
Well, hello, Union of Justice Leaguers. It's the second last episode, the penultimate one, as they call it. It's episode 7 of Jupiter's Legacy, titled Omnes pro uno, which translates to All for One. And I, for one, am not ready for this to end just yet. Sadly, but exuberantly, I am Cyberhawk.
And I'm echoing your sentiments. I'm Harley Quinn.
And I'm suddenly glowing with weird symbols. I'm the Deacon.
I definitely want to unpack that later.
Yes.
And you might want to get that checked out there, X-Force.
That too.
Hello, legends.
Hello, Gideon. All right. Let's get into our show. Our network promo is just about Cybercast Network, where you can check out everything we got. We got Dive Into DC. We got the Mandalore podcast, covering all your favorite DC heroes, topics, and Star Wars shows on Disney+. And you are listening to Tomorrow's Legends. So make sure you check out those other shows. They got a lot of good stuff over there for you. I think Dive Into DC is in their Swamp Thing coverage right now.
Yeah, they're be covering episodes 4, 5, and 6 this coming week.
Cool.
So yeah,
I'm behind. I watched the premiere and I haven't had time to get back to it. So
yeah,
I haven't gotten to it at all. I forgot they were covering it, but I did want to jump in on that. I don't know that I've got time right now.
Yeah, they're doing, like I said, the 3 episodes this week, and then they'll have 2 more podcasts with 2 episodes each. So
right,
yeah. So they'll be going on it for a little bit.
Cool.
Maybe I'll binge it and just send them like one log feedback.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
That's a good idea. Mandalore is right in the middle of Bad Batch season 3 right now, and that is getting really good. If you're into that show and into those characters, whew, good stories there for sure.
That's what else I'm behind on.
Oh man,
I'm still in season 2.
I did send John and Justina. I managed to find. I don't know if you guys ever heard. They originally did a TV movie for the Justice Society of America. They were hoping to make a new TV series out of it, and I found that original movie pilot, and I got a downloaded copy of it, and I sent it to them. It is the cheesiest stuff you have ever seen. It's got the Atom and the Flash, and I can't even remember the characters in there. The costumes are bad, the acting is bad, the special effects, everything is bad. But it's so over the top cheesy that I want them to review it. I think it would be hilarious. It's actually,
is it like an MST3K kind of style thing?
I don't know what you mean.
Mystery Science Theater. Did I say it the wrong?
Oh,
acronym?
I still don't.
Mystery Science Theater.
I would not have picked up on that.
So like it's like 8 B grade. I haven't seen it, but I've just seen like clips and pictures from behind the scenes. So yeah, it's like yeah,
it's so bad. Like I forget which character. One of the characters is flying, or is supposed to have some type of flight ability, and when he wants to fly from an overhang bridge down to the ground level below. Oh, it's Green Lantern. There's a Green Lantern in this, I think.
Yeah, it's Guy Gardner.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Guy Gardner, and with his ring, he creates an umbrella and he jumps off the bridge, Mary Poppins style, and floats down. And you're just like, oh my god, it looks so bad.
Amazing.
But actually, you guys have access to it too. I put it up in our groups, in our networks folder on the Google Drive. So
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
It's
Fine.
It's fun. Anyway,
That's
so
hilarious.
It is. Check those guys out. Let's get into some news. X-Force has got some news about Superman Lois for us.
We interrupt this podcast for a special report.
So they are officially halfway done filming the final season. That was announced this week on Bitsy's socials. So that's interesting. So they're about halfway done. And along with that, we've got some casting news. So Yvonne Chapman has joined the cast. She's going to be portraying Amanda McCoy. So this is a trusted ally of Lex Luthor from the comics. She's a computer scientist who basically feeds all this stuff into a computer, figures out that Clark is Superman. She tells Lex. Lex doesn't believe her, basically fires her. She does her own investigation work, and one of the private investigators gets killed, but she figures it out, proves it to herself in the comics. So it's going to be interesting how they adapt it here. According to the official show description of the character, little is known about her mysterious past, but she's the only one in Luthor's inner circle that he views as an equal, which makes her a massive threat to the Kents and anyone else that stands in her way. So it's going to be interesting how they pull her in, doing her as opposed to Mercy Graves from that we've seen in other things, where she is more on the same level as opposed to somebody that's working for Lex. But the actress is best known from the CW's Kung Fu. She's got guest stints on Family Law, and she's also one of the stars of Netflix's Avatar: The Last Airbender that's out now. So,
which character is she on Avatar?
I'm sorry. I don't have that in front of me, but
I'll look it up while you're talking.
Yeah. So I think she'll be a good choice, and it'll be interesting how they pull her into the story and make it a little more relevant. Because that storyline was way back in the day. And some awards nominations. So the show's been nominated for the Critics' Choice Super Awards in the Best Superhero Series, Limited Series, or Made for TV Movie category. So those announcements come out. The awards, I believe, come out April 4th, I believe, is when the awards. So they're in there with Generation V, one of the Walking Deads. I forget. There's a couple in that category. So,
way to go for them, though. I love that the show is getting some recognition in the awards arena for sure.
Me too.
Yeah, definitely.
They deserve it.
Yeah, they deserve all of the accolades for that.
Mm-hmm.
So it says she is Kyoshi in Avatar. So I don't know if you guys are watching that. We just got into it, just started it. So
no,
I'm just trying to find a screenshot of Kyoshi, but it's a fun show. You basically had to have watched the cartoon to really get the live action show. Because the live action show on its own, it'd just be this is over the top cheesy. But
I'm not a big anime person, so.
It's not so much anime in the traditional sense of Japanese animation, but it is.
Okay.
But we watched it here and we all loved it. It is a complete family show. Moms, dads, kids can all watch it together. It is so much fun. And then the continuation, the sequel to that, is The Legend of Korra, which takes place another 100 years later or something, and that was even better. So it's a great family cartoon. I mean, if you're watching any of the Star Wars animations, just think of the storytelling. It's so good with the storytelling. You fall in love with the characters. It's so much fun.
Cool.
Okay.
Yeah. So this is basically just a live action retelling of the cartoon.
Gotcha.
Cool.
But yay for Superman. Woo! I think good stuff. Let's get to our ratings for this episode.
Meanwhile, at the Hall of Justice.
All right. I gave this one 9 literal hero journeys. This one was challenging because we see in both the past and the present, people are being pushed to the breaking point. On the island, they were put through the crucible to prove their worth, and we finally get to see them get their powers. We still don't have the answers of like who gave it to them. There's not a clear clarity that way. But like we suspected, they're getting powers unleashed a wave of energy that came out from the island. And we don't know yet how far across the world that went, if it like dissipated as it got further away from the island. We still have a lot of questions that way. But, we're asking like, did the people on the island and the closest ones have stronger powers and farther away? Do descendants' powers go down from, our original 6? So still lots of questions, but an extremely powerful episode.
We are going to speculate, though, X-Force.
Oh, yeah.
We're speculating tonight.
Oh, yeah. No, we've got a lot to say. I also gave this one 9 Revelations of Jupiter's Legacy, because I've been trying to work out why the show is called Jupiter's Legacy the entire time we've been watching it. And in this episode, we finally get an answer to that. So, or at least I think we've got answers to that. But it sounds like you guys might be on the same page than I am. So.
I think it was pretty on the nose.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, you pretty much, know that that's Jupiter, right?
There's
it's
Jupiter.
Yeah.
You can't miss that. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, I really enjoyed this episode. I'm very sad we don't get any more stories to flesh out what's going on with these younger characters. I really would have loved to hear that story, or even like why everyone else in this world also seems to have powers. I mean, did that shockwave, to your point, go throughout the whole world? I don't know. I guess we're left to assume that it must have.
Yeah.
It just seems a little odd to me that would have happened when only those 6 made it to the island to be deemed worthy. So why would everyone else also get powers? Anyways, that's going to bother me just slightly, because I don't think we'll get that answered. But I'm super happy we got to see their journey. That was like the number one thing that I wanted to see. I wanted to see them get to the island. I wanted to see a little bit of what they went through. And so I'm glad we got to see like a lot more than I thought we were going to get to see, which is awesome. And so I'm really hoping we just get enough answers that it just wraps the series up in a mostly satisfying way. I know they're going to leave a few things open-ended because they were trying to set up another season that they clearly never got, but I think it'll be good. So I'm super excited. It took everything in my power to press pause and not go on to that finale.
Oh, man.
It was so hard. Hard.
Yeah.
All of these points you guys are bringing up, we got to make sure we bring them all around in our discussion tonight, because there's so many. Everything you guys brought up, I'm like, I've got a theory. I'm guessing at this. So
Jeff's got pretty comprehensive notes, so I think we'll cover. I think we'll get it covered
for sure. So I am actually upping it just a notch above you guys this week. I'm giving it 9.5. Mysterious Islands of Power Giving. That is how a brand new, intriguing, and exciting way is to tell an origin story. I mean, we get a very Indiana Jones-like adventure across an uncharted island full of traps, dangers, and hazards to test the team to its limits to deem them worthy. Man, I love that. This one episode could have been an entire movie to kick off a series, like a trilogy of movies or something. This episode could have been a movie of the superhero's origin. But in the vein of the 80s superhero show, do you guys know this one, Greatest American Hero?
Yeah.
Yes.
Our team's powers are otherworldly, as in, my first theory, given to them by aliens, someone not of this earth, as we see them get transported to a moon of Jupiter. Who saw that coming? We also get into it more. Yeah, we should have, but we'll get into it more for sure, as there are a lot of questions, like you said, and we're going to try our best to find answers in our discussion tonight. But this one was a fun one. I love adventure. I love exploration. I love a brand new idea on how to get powers. This was so darn cool. It was so darn epic. That entire ending sequence of the powers and their journey was so awesome. That alone gives it a 9.5. I didn't even care about the rest of the episode. I just wanted the entire journey. It was one of the best moments in any series in a long time for me. Just that entire adventure on the island. I loved it.
It was really good.
Yes, it was.
I loved it.
Yeah.
I know people don't like this show, but man, I love it. I thought it was so good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's talk about it because we're all excited. Like, we're amped up to get into it. Let's do that.
Gathered together from the cosmic reaches of the universe.
All right. So we spend the bulk of this episode in the past, and we kick off on the boat, and Sheldon is trying to explain to the newest member of the group there, Richard, what his background was, the whole reason why he thinks he had the vision of his dad, basically as a test to prove that they're worthy. And Richard doesn't want to go, but Sheldon appeals to him and about making a difference. And I pulled out some quotes in this episode. He says, "There's a terrible gift to loss, which leaves nothing left to lose, which means you have everything to gain." So again, Sheldon inspiring others and bringing people along here in the past, and we see kind of a dichotomy in the future, but it's kind of interesting to see how he brings Richard along here.
Yeah, and at first Richard, he didn't want anything to do with it because he's basically listening to the story like, yeah, I saw that storm come after us twice. I'm not getting off this boat. Like, I don't want to be stuck on the island. But like you said, Sheldon's speech kind of got to him a little bit. And once it sunk in, he eventually comes out and says, all right, you got room for one more? I'm coming. And again, we this Richard character, he's brand new. He has no connection to these people at all. And yet he's going to be one of the ones to get power. So I can't wait till we get a little farther in the story because I want to ask some things about him.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm really curious about him, and I think this is one of the things that I'm assuming was to be set up for a later season where we would get more on his backstory, because I'm like racking my brain. I'm like, how does this guy fit into the equation? Like, they literally picked him out of the ocean.
Yeah.
So like, why him? What is the connection? I feel like there has to be a connection, but I unfortunately don't think that's an answer we're gonna get.
Yeah.
Sadly.
Yeah,
maybe if I read the comics.
yeah.
That's a good idea. Like, I'm almost interested in reading the comics just to get more of the story.
Yeah.
I am too, to be honest.
Yeah.
I want to know if I know it's probably a little bit different, but maybe an answer would be great, even if it's not the answer that the show writers would have written. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So. Yep. Yeah, it's interesting with him being a doctor. And like us not really seeing him in present day. Like, we've had, instances where he needed a doctor or other types of stuff, and we've not seen him. And so it just, what's going on? So yeah, I'm interested to see how they would have done, with his character and what his. Yeah, I'm assuming we'll find maybe some next episode what his power set is, but anyway.
Was there a hero we lost? Is he the one that died?
I don't know. Again, I keep looking at the image behind X-Force there. Like, which one is he? It's hard to tell.
I believe it's the guy on the other side of Walt here. I believe.
Have we heard them in any of the future storylines or dialogue? Have we heard them mention the name Richard?
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
I'd have to go. I mean, I'd honestly have to do a rewatch to be 100% certain, but I don't think so. Because we've been saying this whole time, like, who is this other person? Like, they gave us whenever, was it episode 4 or 5, when he's in Kansas, when he sees the vision of the people around the table, like, we didn't know half of them.
Yeah.
We're like, there's a ship captain that we, just met, but he, he's not on the island. And then there's Richard. And was there another person in there? that was involved? I guess not.
Everybody else would know. Yeah.
It just everyone else we knew. Okay.
Yeah. So, well, so they head to the island, and they've got no clear direction. I mean, they don't have a plan. They're just kind of trekking around the island.
They just headed straight into the bush. That was it.
Yeah, it's just like feels like we're walking in circles. And then they find the trees that have like the drawings built in. And that was a big part of this storyline of seeing these symbols in the landscape. And so they get to this edge of the clearing, and the interior is like a desert, but they are basically being kept from going backwards because they try to turn back, and the trees block them, and then they've got snow, and every turn they can't go back, and they're being tested mentally and emotionally and personally.
Physically.
Yeah, so it's a big test, but they don't really. I don't think they really get that at the beginning when they're first going. It takes that. Let's turn back to get them to see. Okay, something more is going on here.
Yeah, so you got a few points there. So let's go all the way back to the beginning about the trees. Like the markings on the tree, they were symbols we recognized, stuff that Sheldon was drawing and stuff he was seeing in his head. But it was interesting when they looked at it, they said, well, wait a second, nobody carved that in the tree. Nobody drew that. That's part of the tree. They said it's coming from inside the tree and growing out. It's part of the bark. And part of the tree. I was like, whoa, okay, that's interesting. So it is like a marker to kind of say they're going in the right direction. And then, I mean, that I don't know about you guys, but when they got to the edge of that one cliff and they're looking out, they're like, man, the mountains are so far away. I feel like we've made no progress at all. All right, that's it. I'm done. We're quitting. And they turn around. When that first tree popped up, I think I jumped 3 feet off the chair.
It startled me for sure.
Holy cow. Did I get... Even the second one got me a little bit because I wasn't sure if another one was going to come. But it's still, I love that there was this Indiana Jones adventure feel to it, but it also had that edginess that kept you creeped out because you really didn't know what was coming. Like everything was very eerie and very spooky and lots of mist and fog, and you don't know where you're going. And like you said, like they're following, like there's these markings on the tree and certain paths, and then we got that one sky shot when the camera pulls way back and you see that they're actually walking. The path that they're following is in the pattern of the symbols as well. Yeah,
but did you notice that one of those was Saturn?
Oh, I didn't actually recognize. Yeah,
the second
They're
watch
star charts. To me,
yeah,
they look like star charts.
I'm gonna have to look at that screenshot again. Yeah.
So yeah, I just watched before we got on, and I was noticing when they were going through the rock there. One of them was clearly, you could see the eye of the storm. So, but yeah,
just cool. Like it's just fascinating idea. I mean, I loved it. Good stuff.
Yeah, no, because in the beginning when he started drawing those symbols and we were getting a lot, I was like, those are either magnetic field lines or like star chart symbols, like a map of space-time almost. I don't know. That's been like my theory for a while, and they confirmed it. So I was like, okay, that's definitely where they're going with this, because at the end they get transported. So
yeah.
Well, and with you talking about them being tested, like at first, I know we're going to get into some of the things that they were being tested on, but first they're getting tested with perseverance. Do they have the nerve to go forward? Yeah. And then they're being tested in fear. Can they overcome their fear? Like they're being presented with something extremely scary. The trees, the cliff, the whatever, the fog. Can they get past their fears and continue to push forward? And then it starts becoming a little more personal. Now they're getting... their emotions are coming into check, and they're being challenged with that, and they're starting to get at each other's throats. And okay, can you overcome these differences? Like I just love it. Every challenge escalated it just a little bit more, and it's perfect. I love the idea of prove your worthiness to get superpowers. Unlike every other iteration of Marvel or DC, they just got the powers. Nobody has ever had to been tested to prove their worth of the powers. And I just love this idea. What a concept.
Yeah, that the lanterns are the only ones that really you could argue that they're being chosen because of their characteristics. But yeah, a lot of them it's just inherited via they get it by accident. They they
luck.
inherit it. Yeah, so
Yeah, so cool.
So we get a interesting conversation as they're walking through the desert here, and Grace asks why Sheldon's dad came to him and not to Walt. And so we start to get this verbal sparring between George and Walt. We start to see that antagonism that will continue through the episode. And so that's keying up. It also keys up the conversation that we'll see throughout the episode of, the conversation between Sheldon and Walter about their dad. But here's where I thought it was interesting. Fitz brings up, who would you like to see? If you're seeing somebody who's not with us anymore. And, when he first did this, I was like, okay, where's this going? But we end up seeing it there in the end. But he says his grandmother, because of all the things that she did to help him read and all that kind of stuff. Grace says her uncle. Richard says a friend that he lost on the ship. George says his mom. And Walt says, no one. I don't live in the past. So, it's again, it's a mental test, but it's something that comes back to us later in the episode.
Yeah, it's kind of funny that what sparks them to want to start talking about all this. But I guess at this point, Sheldon has completely opened up about everything. These are my visions. My dad is talking to me. I'm seeing him. He's been here the whole time. He's the one pushing for this entire thing. And they're finally like, okay, well, geez, who would I follow if someone was telling me that? It's kind of interesting how this conversation comes up, and I guess it's relevant to what's actually happening to them. Mm-hmm. It makes that conversation, but like you said, it does connect to later on a later big moment for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because in this moment, I was also wondering. I'm like, this is an odd conversation to be occurring right now. But then once they get to the end, I was like, oh, okay. They're seeing all of their people.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I get it.
So the next obstacle up is a dust storm, and it really causes them to have to find each other and to link arms and push forward again. Sheldon encouraging them to push forward into the next obstacle, which I called the cliffs of insanity.
Yeah, I mean,
good way to describe it.
You pretty much could name every single challenge. We come up with a fun name for each one.
Yeah.
But I like this idea because Sheldon's been the leader the entire time. He's gathered his team. They're reluctantly following him. But at this point, in the moment of danger, when the dust storm is blowing them apart and they could easily get lost, he's the one that calls them together. He calls out, grab my hand, reach for me, where are you? And he slowly brings them all together, thus saving the team. So right here already, he is showing that he is the leader of this group and they can trust him to keep them together. And I thought that was a cool moment.
Mm-hmm.
He's clearly been the leader from the beginning. I agree. He's been the one. I mean, he's the one that the dad appeared to. He's the one who gathered the group together. He's the one who persevered to get them to the island. And so he was, for whatever reason, chosen as the leader. But I do think in the future scenes, which we're going to get into, or the present scenes, however you want to term those, his leadership definitely is being called to question. So
yeah,
it's interesting to see how everything was set up in the past, where he was very clearly the glue holding everyone together. Whereas in the future, he is the wedge dividing them apart. He's trying to come up with a good analogy.
Yeah.
He's like the stone in their path that the team is tripping over. Like it.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it too. Yeah,
because he can't change to the world around him, and he's basically slowing them down or holding them up or what. Yeah, I don't know what you want to call it, but it's
we'll get into that more later. But it's interesting to see the dichotomy there for me.
Yeah.
So the brothers talk here, and Walt calls Sheldon the golden boy, and Sheldon talks about how like he looked at Walt and saw all the traits that his dad wanted, and so they kind of finally get to the real contention between them. And, basically Walt says, that dad would still be alive if you listened to me. You never listened. So it was powerful. It was a powerful scene.
We will revisit this in our favorite scenes, just to give you a sneak peek. But you guys chose amazing scenes, so I really had to. I'm like, where am I going to find another one? Oh yeah, this one is powerful. It's just. Before we dive into the discussion here, let's just talk about what you already coined, the cliffs of insanity, because that to me was insane. If you look at what they were trying to traverse, they had maybe a foot wide ledge that they were walking on, and there didn't seem to be any bottom to that cavern they were walking in. And it was windy and it was dusty, and they didn't really have much to hang on to. Like, they were basically just holding themselves flat up against the wall as best they could. There wasn't a lot of handholds, cracks and stuff like that, but oh my God, that I don't know about you guys, but my palms were sweaty.
I do not like heights like that. No,
That kind of stuff, it reminded me of Sylvester Stallone's movie Cliffhanger.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, just anytime someone has to hang on for their lives, I get sweaty hands. And I just like, oh my God, I feel that situation they're in. And I mean, they're working their way along. And I don't understand. You see a lot of people in movies that do this. Like, I would be face up against the wall. I wouldn't be turned with my back against the wall, looking over the edge constantly as I'm working around. Because what if you, how are you going to catch yourself if you do slip? You got nothing to grab onto because you're facing the cavern. I'm like, oh my God, guys, turn around. But that entire moment, and again, another part that scared the crap out of me is when Walt does slip. Did not expect that coming at all. Like, it in a moment like this, it always happens, but still, it scared me because they had just finished a very intense argument between the two of them, and then he slips off, and holy crap, that scared me. And man, good that this show is setting up these moments so well. And anyway, but I just wanted to talk about the cliff. Did you want to add anything, Harley, or anything about?
I mean, I thought for a few moments that Walt might actually try to jump. And then he ends up slipping instead. But because you see him, it's after he gives the full speech. He's clearly very upset. He's very down on himself. And then you see him look down and he slips not long after that moment. But for a moment I was like, oh my gosh, is he going to jump?
You're right. And he was mumbling something about his dad, or I think he was talking to their dad. When he looked like he was thinking of jumping, he was saying something. Oh dad, I'm sorry. Or dad is sorry. He was saying something about dad, as he was looking over the edge. I'm gonna go.
Yeah, no. So that was pretty crazy. And then he slips, but I love that. I mean, they grabbed him, they saved him, and even George tried to save him, and they were at each other's throats. Not but a moment before that, in the desert sandstorm thing. So, But yeah, no, it was a really great scene. Really great.
It's crazy. So I was talking about the contention between them. This was the test where they're in a life-threatening situation, and for some reason something has overcome them, and they want to just get out whatever's been on their mind for their entire lives. Like, are you kidding me? Like, this is deep down buried stuff that he has obviously never spoken before. I'll get back into that again during favorite scenes, but if you think about it, it is not the place to be talking about this stuff. You're going to lose your focus of your grip if you're busy yelling at each other. Like,
yeah.
Talk about a test at all different angles. Like, can you overcome your fear of heights? Can you overcome your perseverance to get through this? And now you're fighting with each other. Can we, like, it was crazy. We'll talk more about their actual argument later, but tough stuff.
I find it really interesting. We're comparing and contrasting the characters between the past and the present and you look at Walt of somebody who, I mean, George accuses him of, going into dark rooms or crying when he's not paid attention to or whatever, not heard.
Right.
And he's the one who has mental abilities and can, like, basically we see him with the Blackstar clone, and we see him later in this episode, the ability to pull somebody out of reality and talk with them. So, like, it's interesting to see their characters before they get power and their character afterwards and how it changes through the years. It's like we could dig into, like, compare and contrast between the past and the present, these characters, and that just tells you how well done this series is.
Totally. Well, even just keying in on Walt for a second, I think Walt has changed a lot, because in the past, like, in the future, he's very devoted to his brother and very caring and very supportive. And in the past, all of this came out because they have not been very good to each other or with each other as brothers. So you can see a big change in Walt, especially.
Yeah, it's almost like night and day, like two different people, I think.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
He's very self-assured in the future, and he doesn't question himself nearly as much. You get that in the scene with him and Blackstar, for sure.
And he's also very calm too, I found, in the future.
Yes.
Or in the present. He's very calm and in complete control of everything. So yeah, maybe in the future, when we're talking about the future stuff, or the present, I guess, we'll talk more about his abilities, because he showed some stuff in this episode. He's like, wow, like, that's pretty amazing stuff what he can do.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, him and Raikou. We'll get to that.
Yeah. Cool. Back to the trials.
Yeah. So they enter this trench systems, and they find remains from different cultures and different centuries.
Yeah.
So they're not the first one invited. So the mention is the Maori tribe and Vikings are the two that were called out. So they are not the first group to be tested and tried by this challenge. And that was really interesting, because, like, we saw these trees and there were people underneath, and then we see later that the people were going after each other. It had gotten to that point, and they were attacking each other, and we see that with our group. And this is where Grace comes in and kind of calls them to say, look at what you're doing, look around you. None of these other groups made it because they were fighting against each other instead of coming together to overcome. So this was an interesting scene to kind of think about, how long has these trials been going on, and what makes our group different. What was the key factor?
So much I want to get into about these scenes, because it tells us that whatever this otherworldly force was, it's been here for a long time, waiting for the right humans to come along and prove worthy for this. I mean, all the way back to the Vikings. Like, they had the guy pulled up the Viking helmet, and that was just cool. And I immediately thought, could you imagine if thousands of years ago Vikings became superheroes, can you imagine a Viking flying around with laser beam eyes and super strength? Like, that would be insane. Because how would that Viking prove worthy? Because what do Vikings do? They love to pillage and conquer and kill and destroy everything. If you give a Viking superpowers, man, the world would be a different. Like it's just crazy. So no wonder none of them were ever worthy. And I just found that fascinating that all these different groups of 6 tried to get to that island, and they got this far. And I was trying to figure out what the trees mean, because the trees almost seemed like a cage. Like, they didn't make it. They killed each other, and then this tree. I'm wondering if the tree kind of trapped them, because we saw the trees be very animated earlier. So I wonder if these trees kind of like, that's it, you failed the test, trap them in there, and they died, or did the trees grow from that anger, from that contention between these other I don't know, because the trees looked like almost like big spindly fingers had come down and just and trapped them there. I don't know. It was a really creepy and fascinating looking kind of design to that.
Mm-hmm.
And then I thought, okay, my next moments were thinking, okay, well, our team is getting through. So there's obviously something over the course of time, over the thousands of years, that it needed more of a modern brain that was a little more forward thinking, that was able to persevere and push through these challenges. And like you said, it took grace to notice that, hey, these people fought each other before and they obviously didn't make it. We got to stop fighting. Like, she had that sense and that whereabouts to figure that out. And as soon as she spoke up, everyone's like, oh my God, yeah, you're right. And they all came together at that moment. And that was passing the final, or the second last kind of trial here. And I just thought it's just very cool. And I was wondering if it meant it had something to do with the generations of humans. Like, it took this long for evolution to get people to a point where they could be worthy enough.
I mean, I think that's a good theory for sure. Because, I mean, you have to assume, like, if they're clearly trying to invite people over, the course of our, like, entire history. And I think there's something to be said for letting our species, evolve a bit and mature a bit in the way that we have interpersonal relationships and all of those kinds of things. Like, it's almost like society has to calm down and become like less animalistic before we could successfully get past the trials.
Yeah, and I wonder, like, we know that, like, the leader of the group is called. We don't know if, like, in other iterations, like, everybody had a vision, or if it was just like ours, where only the leader had the vision and the calling.
Yeah.
And like, how much thought, like, was the crew chosen? It seems like the crew was chosen somewhat by the leader, but then you've got Richard, so that wasn't really. So, like, did the island, the powers choose the people that came? Like, was it the right combination of friends, and then you've got this other factor? It just makes you wonder, like, how much choice was in there, because, like, there had to been some. If there wasn't, then the first group would have gotten through. So yeah, I just it just makes you wonder, like, it chose a leader and then the leader chose others. I don't know. It's just interesting to think about how that works in there. You call people who have potential, but they're not fully there. So yeah.
And I wonder, playing off of that, I wonder if it all comes down to the leader. Is the leader the most worthy? Because it seems like it chooses a leader. Here's your idea, the people we think are contenders to be your team. Now it's up to you, the leader, to be able to rally them and get them through this. So the Viking leader wasn't good enough. The Mallory, like all these other leaders, did not have and what it takes to get their team through. Until Sheldon comes along, he was the leader that was able to do it and get them through. So I wonder, did the power that chose Sheldon then also said, all right, there's the people in your lives, we're gonna, you have these visions, but because Sheldon is having the vision, he pictured the people in his mind that he either knew or whatever, but of course he didn't know what's his name, the guy
Richard.
that picked up on the boat. So I'm just wondering with the Viking too, say the Viking, for instance, did the Viking get images of some of his soldiers, and maybe he had to grab one of his enemy tribes or something, because he tried to imagine what did the Viking leader have to go tell everybody, I had a vision, and Odin came down to me and spoke to me, and I had to, we must go on a quest. It just makes you wonder, but I have a feeling it has to do with the leader. The leader needed to be the most worthy to be able to lead his team through. And that's why he gets the ultimate power.
Yeah, but I think, the real balance was if we didn't have Grace, they wouldn't have made it through. So I think she was just a key factor
for sure
of them making it through, because she's the one that kind of is outside but still in enough to see where things need to change. So,
and it's interesting that it's her morality that kind of got them through some of these scenarios, when she originally was the one that ripped their father to shreds publicly in the newspaper. She seems to have
true.
Mm-hmm.
Right, so it's something in her has changed, that she is now the moral compass of the group. So
yeah.
It was so cool. All of it, every single challenge leading up to this moment was just awesome. I wanted it to be extended. I wanted to watch a full hour-long version of this journey.
I mean, we almost did.
Almost. Okay, 2 hours. Movie length.
All right.
So after they stop fighting, they're faced with this wall, and they put their hands on the wall, and we start seeing the light patterns on the wall that we've been seeing from Sheldon's vision. And we've got everybody kind of running up, but when Walt puts his on there, it nothing happens, and it blanks out George. And this is where Grace again says, you two need to work things out and let things go. They do that, but it's still not working, because Sheldon and Walter have to reconcile too, and it takes them all doing that in order for everything to be unlocked. So this was,
because Sheldon's went out too after Walt and George reconciled. Sheldon's went out.
Yeah.
So this entire sequence is my favorite. I wish we could just play video for our favorite scenes, but YouTube won't let us. But I love that it went from Indiana Jones style classic adventure to suddenly the coolest sci-fi stuff we've ever seen. This was an immediate switch into sci-fi. Those colors, bright fluorescent colors, and they're building their way up the wall. It's being painted with fluorescent light, and it creates all this amazing spectacle. And they're all getting excited. Each one of them is lighting one up, and then poor Walt gets nothing, and he immediately gets and he gets all frustrated. I'm done. I want to leave again. and it's just like you said, Grace again is the moral center here, and she figures out you boys have got to reconcile, and they do. We should call it out here, the acting on every single one of these guys, their faces, every time they discovered something new, or they had to realize they have to behave a certain way, or they're being in the moment wowed by everything, the camera did a super close-up of almost every single character, and their facial expressions and the emotion going through them was so real. It blew me away how good these guys were reacting, because you imagine for the actors, they're just standing there on a studio set looking at nothing, and they have to imagine this, right? So that's how good the acting is, that they're literally seeing this and they're reacting to it. It was just beautiful. It was such a beautiful moment. I loved all of it, and the sci-fi-ness and the this is the team. All 6 of us have to have our hands on the wall. We've got to come together. We need to send the light up to the key point at the top and to open the portal. Like, man, it was so cool. So cool.
I agree. I loved this scene. I like that it's kind of like Grace leading the charge. She's kind of like figured everything out, and she's telling them all, like, you know, what needs to happen, which is kind of ironic because it's like, I feel like she should end up maybe like being the leader, but I think she's the one that keeps the group going in a sense, you know, like she gets them to like that final destination when they think that all hope is lost. Like, she's the one who figures out and turns it around. And I think they're at that same crossroads in the present where she's the voice of reason. She's trying to keep them all together instead of Sheldon's control, kind of, which is starting to break them all apart again. So I like that she's, even though he's the leader, like, she's the glue.
Yeah.
And that's probably why the 2 of them are the most powerful of the entire team. They're the heads of this 6.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
It's like Superman and Wonder Woman. Like, that's it.
Yes.
You're the 3 and the 2. Yeah. Sure.
Yeah.
So they open this portal basically, and they step through to a moon where we can see Jupiter close up, and we got this spinning power formation. And
it's a good way to put that.
That's the nearest thing I could describe it as. But
it looked like an upside down glowing flower that was spinning, and like the petals of the flower were glowing, and they had to go. Yeah. That's what it looked like to me. Yeah. Upside down flower.
There we go.
And they get there, and the people that they miss most tell them that they prevailed and they are found worthy. And we get to see that echoed across the different people.
And spoiler alert, it's my favorite scene. So we'll get to revisit it. I don't have anything like super specific I wanted to like keep for the discussion, so we can just talk about everything here. But we'll get to hear it again. So
cool.
Okay. Yeah, like again, just continuing with the awesome sci-fi scene. Like first that wall in the cavern, the wall grows up and they're trapped, and that's when they're like, oh crap, now how do we get out? So they're first trapped there, but when they eventually figure this thing out and the portal opens, like, I had no idea where this was going to go. I thought it was just a door into the cliff and they're just going to walk inside the cliff. I had no idea it was a teleporter, to take them somewhere else, let alone a moon around Jupiter. Like, I want to know what moon that was, because they obviously didn't have to worry about oxygen or anything like that. They all seem to breathe okay up there. But
we're just gonna gloss over that.
But for all we know, the moon is survivable. Like, we have no idea. I just don't know what moon it was, and it was just really, really cool. I mean, for all I know, the aliens or whatever it is had set up this was an environmental area that people could survive on. They obviously set it up. If they're giving you superpowers, I bet you they can make a planet breathable. So that's why I care, right?
Yeah.
So
Jupiter's moon Europa is one of the handful of worlds in our solar system that could potentially harbor conditions suitable for life.
Oh, there you go.
So possibly they're on Europa.
A little science, yeah. But it just looked
I
so
had
cool.
to look.
Yeah. Like they walk through and there's this glowing upside down flower of power, and they're just
power.
They're just like they're drawn to it, of course. But what is that thing? The reason I say flower, because is it like a seed? It's a seed where their powers grow from. They get planted in them. Like, what is going on there? But just so cool. They walk into the light. And first we see Sheldon and Walt's dad, and then, like you said, X-Force, they all start seeing the person that they missed the most, or that they said they'd like to see. Mm-hmm. And they're all getting this wonderful moment of, congratulations, you did it. You deserve this. Move forward, whatever. They were all getting words of encouragement. which is just really, really cool. And again, this is where you get all the close-ups of their faces and the emotion that these people are feeling over what they are seeing was so real. And every single one of them deserves huge nods of applause, for the performance, because it was just amazing, absolutely amazing. And I loved all of it. So yeah, I'll wait till I got so much more to say, but we'll wait till your next point.
Yeah, no, just like piggybacking on what you said about the performance, I agree. I think the actors in this series have been phenomenal. Like, really, they've done an amazing job. And most of them, like a couple of them I recognized, but most of them I didn't at all. And I think they've just done so phenomenal. So I hope that they've landed, gigs somewhere else, because they're really great actors, and I'd like to, see more of their work aside from, the two that I knew. Like Grace and Sheldon. Like those are the two actors that I knew coming into this. So but I think they've all done a phenomenal job. And I loved the scene. I picked the scene. It explains the name of the series, which has been bothering me for quite some time. And
it was Jupiter.
Right? Exactly. I'm like, why is it called Jupiter's Legacy when he's called Utopian? Like, what the hell? So it brings everything together, and I really appreciated that. And the acting was phenomenal as well. So we can jump to the next point.
I have a fun question for you there, because way back when, I think it was in episode 1, when we first got George on screen, you were just like, oh my God, he is super cute.
Yes, he is.
You got a couple really good close-ups of him. So did you just like pause the TV and like, I'm just gonna hold that for a few moments?
I'm like, why are you a voice actor? Like, you have a lovely voice, don't get me wrong, but please be on screen more.
He is surprising me, because I had no idea he was this good of an actor.
I really love the George character. I'm like a little sad he becomes the villain in the end.
Yeah. But he, Matt was great on, Timeless.
Oh, okay.
See, I didn't watch Timeless.
Yeah. He was one of the kind of the 3 leads on that show. So
I'm gonna have to look into that one. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
So we see this power wash down over them, but when we saw them walk up to the flower of power, like Martin likes to call it, there in the background there's still the opening to the island. There's that white light in the background, you can see it, and the power just doesn't flow over them, it flows out and over the entire island, and we see it wash over the boat.
Yeah.
Now, I'll let Martin's got a point here, but it washed over everybody on the boat.
It did.
But only some of them had symbols on their skin.
Okay. Only some of them did?
Yeah.
Some of them did. Some of them didn't. Like the first time I thought they all did, but on my second watch, I only saw it on a couple.
See,
now that's not to say like, it maybe this is latent to their future, and maybe the ones that the symbol showed up, they got power. I don't know, but yeah, it was interesting.
So this is a big point that we can dive into, because I only saw they made the point of showing us the captain's face for sure.
Yeah.
His face got golden symbols all around it for sure, and that's really the only one that stood out to me. I need to watch it again to see how, and maybe pause it on screen to see how many people got it, but I really only noticed the captain. And what I'm wondering is the people that get the symbols are what the power is deeming worthy, the ones that don't get the symbols, because obviously they can't give the entire world superpowers. It seems like only certain ones. I know we got lots of questions about why do all the kids have powers? Why do so many people have powers? I think this is just our first hint. I believe we're going to get more we should get more to that answer in the last episode, because the wave went out. Once they head back to mainland to this, will they find out, oh, did you guys see that light? Oh my god, like we'll have to see what happens there, because is this similar to the Flash's explosion of the particle accelerator where it just goes everywhere, right?
Yep,
so I have a feeling, I have a feeling those symbols mean a lot, that the people that got the symbols are the ones that are going to develop powers. But the question here I also want to ask is why? Is it because they never closed the portal, or the portal had to stay open in order for them to get back? So if whatever this otherworldly force is that deemed I need 6 people to be worthy enough to pass these challenges so I can give the superpowers to, why would it then allow the power to spread across the world and give a lot of people powers? If that is the case, or if it is only genetically passed on, we need to see more of that. But my other running theory is, we brought it up last time, Sheldon and Grace and Skyfox and all these people, they seem to have the top echelon, the top tier of all the superpowers, because the kids that we've seen are very limited. They have one ability. They're very X-Men-like. They have one ability. Whereas Utopian and Grace have like a ton of abilities, right? So I'm wondering if the core 6 have all of the powers, and the wave that washed out gave people singular power. And that's why they're not, superheroes, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I think a lot of the powers are passed on genetically, and they the direct descendants may get more powerful.
Hence Brandon and Chloe.
Yeah. So, but my thought is, like, this power is released out onto the world, and maybe it's another test, or a way that whoever's giving the power can help humanity move to the next step. Maybe they're helping humanity move to the next step. So you've got these powerful beings that can kind of help shepherd this new reality, but you have people being given abilities to kind of grow and change society on the earth to be ready to be able to join, aliens or whatever. So it's like, you've got to have the people there to kind of keep the rule and keep the law, but you've got a larger amount of people who have abilities. So I think, maybe it does choose some that are worthy out there in that initial wave, or maybe it just does it a little more randomly. I don't know. We really have real questions, but I see it maybe as a way of them getting another step and them getting humanity ready to be out in the stars and whatever. So
I like your idea about like Utopian being the shepherd. Like, here, you guys get the initial boost, and then here's the rest of the world. Now it's up to you to lead the human race to their next stage of evolution, their next step in the process of becoming part of the greater galactic neighborhood, right? Like, obviously there's something more beyond the Earth. There's something more beyond this that's trying to present to us. And I like your idea that you guys, you 6, are the ones that are going to be the shepherds for the rest of the world to follow. That's a cool concept.
Yeah. No, I agree. I mean, I think it's all tied into the title, with it being Jupiter's legacy. So I think they've passed on whatever legacy from whatever, mythical civilization that was on Jupiter, and has now passed down, now that they've chosen the 6 protectors of humanity, or the 6 people that will uphold the civilization, if you will. They're gonna evolve civilization kind of like to the next level a little bit. And I think that's why we see these stark differences in their present versus our present, even though it's the same timeline, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think we all got good points that all kind of converge together. Like, hopefully, we get the more answers to these ideas in the last episode. Because, well, going on to your last point there, X-Force, if you want to just read it, then I got some thoughts about that too.
Yeah. So our heroes fly in wearing their uniforms as their heroic point here.
That was a pretty cool scene. I mean, visually, that was epic. I mean, the guys in the boat are like, oh my God, look. And you've got this massive sunset and all the heroes are silhouetted against the sun and they're just floating down like gods coming down. And it was such a cool, like the cinematography and the shots that this show is designing are stuff we've never seen. And it's so dramatic and epic. But this is where I don't want to say I have issues. This is where it gives me a lot of questions because they just went through this entire journey, got teleported to Jupiter's moon, walked into the flower of power and got their powers. And all of a sudden they get the super suits. They know how to fly. They just appear out of the sky. And I was thinking there's going to be some transition. Like, I got powers now. What do I do with them? How do I control them? Like Superman learning his powers for the first time, all this like tripping over himself. It just seems like there was a bit of a jump there. So I wonder if it was like an instantaneous download. Like, here's your abilities. Boom. They just instantly know how to use it all. Because I call... What's that?
It's the Matrix. I know Kung Fu.
Yeah. Because I want to call back to, again, the Greatest American Hero. He also got his superhero suit from an alien spaceship, if you guys ever saw that show. An alien craft comes down, drops off a suitcase. He opens the suitcase. There's his super suit in there. He puts it on. The suit gives him powers. But it came with an instruction book, and he lost the book because there was like a windstorm. Or when the UFO took off, it got blown away. He lost the instruction book. So now he doesn't know how to use the superhero suit. And that's what the whole humor of the show is he doesn't know how to fly. He doesn't know how strong. He has to figure it out as he goes. And so thinking about that too, where at this show just immediately is like, here's your heroes. And so I hope we get a bit of that explanation is why do they just suddenly know what to do and come flying down out of the sky? Like they all had this epic superhero pose, like hands on the hip and the chest sticking out, like this grandeur moment of like, dun, 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 like here's Superman. It was
it's almost like they were directed.
So
sorry, I had to throw that in there.
Yeah, I just hope it's explained why there's that instantaneous. We're now heroes. I hope you guys know what I'm trying to get at. I mean, you guys can add your own thoughts.
I do think it was just part of the deal, right? Like an instant download, very much like the Matrix. Like, I mean, seriously, like you want to know how to do this? Here you go.
Yeah.
Boom.
Yeah.
You know how to do it now.
Mm-hmm.
Without any learning, without any growing pains, nothing like that.
Yeah. Exactly. That's how I feel.
Okay. But they came out of the sky. So they always had to come back through the portal and back. I don't know. Whatever. I'm diving too deep in it, but it's just.
I think you're going too far. Yeah.
So, but they're coming down to the guys on the ship. So I wonder if we're going to get a scene after that. Like, do they help the ship get home? Do they like? I hope there's not too much of a time jump next episode. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious where our past storyline is going to go from here, because we've kind of gone back and forth. The past storyline and the present kind of parallel each other in their journey, and so it will be interesting to think about where we are in the present, which we'll get to, and how are they going to parallel that in the past of how the code gets formally laid down. Like, it's going to be interesting to see what the past scenes are going to be like in this final episode.
Yeah, because we got the final moments that we've been wanting is how do they get their powers? So we got that moment, and we still have one more episode. So do we see the building of the Justice Hall? Do we see them forming the team? Do we see them presenting themselves to the world? Hey, guess what? Here's superheroes. Like, we have to, how's the world going to react to them? You know, does the government say, no, we're not, like, we obviously have to see the evolution of all of that too, because you can't just have superheroes show up on the scene and everything's okay. Like, there's got to be a lot of planning and setting up an arrangement for them to develop their Justice Society, right?
Yeah,
it's gonna be interesting.
Yeah, we'll see how much of it we get to see, but I do think we'll get to see a little bit, but
yeah, maybe next episode will be more based in the present, because this one was mostly in the past. So
yeah,
I think it might be. Yeah.
Cool. Anyway, I'm so satisfied with what we got. It was just awesome.
It was.
All right. Well, jumping to the present. So the Union is debating, I'll use that word, the Blackstar procedure. And instead of, I guess, maybe solely using Walt, they go in for the contract killer of Raikou, who's a mental ninja. And Martin, I'll pass this on to you. When I was looking at the information about her character, she was really designed as like an homage to Cyclops from the X-Men, the Quanon version.
Okay, I can't say I know a lot about that version of Cyclops.
So she's no, it's Betsy Braddock, so Captain Britain's sister.
Okay,
she's a telepath, and she's a mutant. And in the comics, there's something that happens, and basically her mind gets put in the body of this Asian assassin. So for a lot of time, she's Asian, and so she's mental, but she's also got the ninja powers. So, but now in the current comic lines, they're two separate. They've separated the characters. So
that is after my comics time. So I actually don't know a lot about what you're referring to there.
Yeah, Cyclops.
Cyclops. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. So. Yeah, I might have to look that up. But yeah, that's after my time. We might have to consult Dreamweaver, because she has a lot more of the more recent X-Men knowledge.
Yeah.
But talking about her, they're like Raikou, and we find out she's Walt's daughter. Holy cow. Did not say, okay, he's got an Asian daughter again. Where are the mothers for all these kids? Because
right?
You know,
I am so interested in those answers that we will never get.
Yeah.
One of the stories I'm talking about, I want Raikou's backstory. I want to know more about their family. Like, what is the deal? Why does she hate him? Like, why is she a villain? Like, I want to know, and I am not gonna know. I loved this character.
She got such a cool introduction. Like, that somebody's marching down the streets, some higher guy, and he's got all his guards around her, and just the camera looking over her shoulder as she's on the rooftop, and then she jumps down and the camera follows her, and she lands, and it's all slow motion, and everybody's looking at her, and the camera, everything's moving really slowly, and then it just ramps up the speed, and they start fighting ninja style, and oh man, it was all, what a way to introduce a new character in the second last episode.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. They were setting stuff up for another season.
Yeah. Oh man, she was cool.
Yeah, I mean, I love the just the imagery of her mask and the way that she used her abilities, and it was so cool. And to see the fight scenes there was so cool. And then you have her dad just freezing things. And she's just like frozen after she's taken out most of the guys, and they're just having this conversation like, she's across the globe, and it's like she's in the room with him. It was just amazing to kind of see that, the two of them having this conversation back and forth.
And that blew me away. The power that Walt has is insane. From around the other side of the world, he can get in your mind and pull you right out and put you in his whatever mental cage he wants to put you in. He can do that. But what was surprising is that when he does that, the body is completely frozen, locked up, and she has no control. But at the same time, he can continue to look back and keep an eye on the situation and know that her body is not in trouble yet. And it's only when the other warriors start to get back up again and are closing in on her that he lets her go so she can defend herself. I just found that absolutely fascinating, that he can not only pull someone out of their body and be in complete control, but then still be in touch with that situation and be in both scenarios at the same time. Walt is we've never seen Professor X do anything like that. We've never seen any mental powered person have that type of control before. It was crazy.
It was pretty crazy. I loved these scenes. I love the showcase of the powers. I loved that he's like, he can have that control over her, but I want to say, like, especially at that distance, that the only reason he can have control is because he's her father. Like, I feel like, I don't think he could do that with just anybody. But still, I mean, even so, like, it's really cool just to see him, like, freeze her, and she comes in this world. And, like, I almost picked this as my favorite scene because I just found it hysterical. She's like, you've got to be shitting me. I was like, this is amazing. She knows exactly what's happening, too.
Yeah.
Like, I thought that was so
like,
cool.
Oh, gosh. You know, it's like, Dad.
Yes, I know. I love that. I thought this was great. Oh, what a reveal. What a great introduction. Like, I loved it so much.
Oh.
Well, but like I enjoyed the scene later on, because this is not really in the notes, but like how when she finally does show up and they go into the interesting back to the alley, that
well, that was fun.
Yeah, I had balloons fly up from the gesture or something, but anyway,
how did you do that?
I don't know, but he compliments her on her ability, she cut off the head of this cryptid and got the memories out of it, and like he's really like, I couldn't, pumping her up and saying like, I couldn't have done that. So like, you see that pride in her that he has for her, and it was just neat that way, just to say, yeah, like, we've seen that with Grace and the kids, and we've seen this, but it's interesting this late in the game to see another, child-son dynamic or child-daughter dynamic that we haven't seen. And I totally agree with you, Harley. I think next season would have been focused on really digging into like some of the younger kids and maybe getting to see some of the backstory on her.
Yeah.
So
on a lot of them. Yeah. Not just her. I think on a lot of them.
Yeah.
But oh well.
Yeah, because I think they're just, and that's part of the legacy part of it. I think we've talked about before. It's even in our opening intro that the original heroes are starting to age out, and it's can we lead the kids down the right path to continue this for us? And we're seeing all of the kids really struggling and really challenging the code and everything. So this is kind of the transition. I think eventually the show would have transitioned to the kids taking over the society and whatever. I don't know what the older characters would have done, or like would they slowly phase them out? But yeah, you'd see it going that way.
Yeah, I mean, we do get to see a little bit of Chloe and Brandon. They're mourning over Jenna, so we do get to see that, and Brandon's still blaming himself, debating choices, and so we are getting, like we said, getting to see more of the kids here in this towards the end. that we probably won't get to see paid off. But it was good to see at least Chloe and Brandon talking some, after being at odds last time we saw them.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, they had very little to do in this episode, but I feel like they maybe mended their relationship just like a tiny bit. And so I feel like, again, this would have maybe played out more in future episodes that never come.
Yeah.
I did like this though, because it showed that they don't hate each other. They might feel differently about what their parents are teaching them and saying, but they don't hate each other. And Brandon was like, it felt good to have you here. Like, you should come visit more often. And she's like, yeah, whatever. And then she walks away and goes, well, okay, maybe. So she's finally coming around a little bit, and she sees that her brother kind of needs her, because she was there to support him. He's down on himself right now, and it was just cool. I like this moment for the two of them.
Yeah, I think that the whole arc with them is she's always loved him, and I think she's disillusioned with her dad so much that she just doesn't want Brandon, to get hurt trying to be the utopian. We've seen that throughout the series. She loves her brother, and she's running away from trying to be her mom, and she's doing everything to not be the hero, but she's got that love, but she just doesn't know how to get through to him based on her dad's, the system and everything. So
yeah.
Yep.
So my favorite scene is up next, and this is the confrontation with Sheldon and Grace of not having a united front. And we'll get into this when it plays, but this was just really powerful between the two of them, and the telling that this came before what we see on the island, because it just like the two of them going back and forth, and you think she's making inroads to him, and then you have no clue, and it's like, oh, come on, my dude. Wake up, Sheldon. Do you not remember?
I thought she got through to him, and then he's like, you don't know what I need to do. I was like,
I know.
I was like, dude.
I know. I really thought she had cracked it, but nope. Yeah. No, I loved this. I had picked this as my favorite scene as well originally, and then I saw Jeff had it, so I went back and picked another one, because I had several that I could have chosen throughout this episode, but it's an absolute. I think this is probably one of the best scenes in the whole episode for sure.
The thing that I'm concerned about with is the way he responded to her when he said, "You have no idea what I need to do," and he walks off. Is he going to do something? Is he taking off to go deal with some stuff and get it dealt with the way he thinks it needs to be?
Well, but that scene is before they start the Blackstar clone. It is. So he has an issue with her, but he's still there with the Blackstar clone. So
maybe he's just left because he doesn't want to fight with her anymore then, I guess.
Yeah, I don't.
I think they're at odds, and I don't think they're necessarily going to come together. I don't know. I think this is what the finale's all coming to, is the code. So I think that's what the finale is going to be about.
Yeah. So
that's what they've been setting up anyway, in my opinion.
Yeah. So we do get another scene with Brandon. We get a scene where Petra stops by, and so she talks with him about leaving the Union, and things are so fractured, and she doesn't believe the code anymore. And you get this interesting turn where he tells her he's doubting too. And we hear this quote that we haven't heard before from his, he's spouting his dad. He said, the code wasn't made to make our lives easier. You have to care about people, about the world. That's not easy to deal with sometimes, but we do it. It's never the easy way out, but it's what separates us from everyone else. So here, Brandon really is channeling his dad, and at least for a little while keeps her in the Union. So
yeah, that's true. I know. I was conflicted with the scene, to be honest, because I feel like Brandon doesn't fully. In this scene, he seems as if he fully embodies the code and fully believes it, but we've seen him questioning it throughout the whole series. And so the fact that he's upholding the code and basically embodying the utopian, he's I think setting aside what he personally thinks is right in order to uphold his dad's vision. And I don't know, I'm kind of conflicted with that.
I agree.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there wasn't a lot in these scenes, I was so overwhelmed by everything that was happening in the past that I forgot to stop and think about what we saw in these present times. So I don't even have any thoughts there. I'm looking at what you wrote and listening to what you just said. And I'm like, I don't know. I'll let you guys go on to the next point, because I actually really have. I never even contemplated these moments in the episode at all.
That's fair. I did a bit, so I said my piece.
I agree. I think he is. He is not broken. He's got his question, but he's not to the point of. He's got to become his own hero, which is what his sister wants for him.
Yeah.
And what is it going to take for him to do that? I think what they may be setting up is, okay, the code worked in the past, but each generation has to make their own code, to be their own heroes. They all have to go through a crucible to be proven worthy. And so that's maybe what that second season would have been set up to do, is how does this next generation take what they've been given and adapt to the time, and how does Brandon quit wanting to be his dad and be his own hero
and just be himself.
Yeah.
I think you're right.
So. That brings up an interesting thought for me, though, is whatever this power is that gave Sheldon and his team of 6 the abilities, did it have the intention of everybody else getting the powers, like these people's kids? Because do these kids have to go through an equal trial to prove themselves? Because they got the powers genetically, and they've never had to prove themselves worthy of having them. So I wonder if in another season would the alien power would ever come down and put them through a trial. I wonder what would have happened there, because they didn't have to go through anything to get these powers. They didn't have to prove themselves.
I think that is the trial. I think that is, like I was saying earlier, that this power that gave humanity these powers to help them change and grow. You had the initial group who were going to be, like I said, the shepherds, but then living with that is the trial for this group. Because you think about, everybody has to step up and take what they were given by their parents, what they learned from their parents, and they have to make their own way and make their own decisions, and the trials are not going to be necessarily the same. So I think for these kids, the trial is not, this island presenting them with these obstacles. It's how do I take what I was given and be, who I need to be, rather than, trying to be the spitting image of the clone of my parents. I think that's the trial for them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you in the sense that this is the way it's worked out for them. Like that this is their own personal trials, but I don't know if the original power that gave them the abilities is the one that's making that happen. I think this is just kind of life the way it is. Like they are going through their own personal trials for whatever it is, but I don't know if the aliens are the ones that are actually directing this part of their lives. That's where I'm kind of hung up on. I'm like, we'll probably never know or figure it out.
Yeah.
Sadly, no.
Yeah. So we get a Supermax visit with Blackstar getting a visit from Walter. And he basically lets him know that, I'm going to hack your clone. Really digging into why are you working with Skyfox? What's going on here? And, it gives him the threat of if I don't get what I need from the clone, I'm coming back for you. But we get some real insight into, Blackstar, but also George here too, of their kind of interactions that we didn't really know about.
There's one point, before I forget, it was the very first note that I wrote, so I think this came up super early in the episode. I think it was Grace that states, she says, when they were talking about everything that was going on, she says, Skyfox is relentless. And I wonder if this ties into why Walt is going to Blackstar to bring up Skyfox. What is she meaning when she says Skyfox is relentless? Because he sent the clone, obviously, and he's doing all of this stuff. So what is he relentless about? What is she referring to? What does she mean about Skyfox and that he is relentless in what he's doing? So that has to tie into why Skyfox was brought up here when he's talking to Blackstar.
Yeah. These scenes were very interesting because it shows a side of Walt that I think I was not fully expecting. He's almost villainous in this role, eerily similar, very aggressive, eerily similar to his daughter, who is very clearly a villain because she kills with no compunction whatsoever. She's basically a paid assassin.
As long as she is paid $1 million.
Exactly. Yeah.
Wow.
So, I mean, she's a paid assassin. And so, I was getting vibes more closer to Raikou than I was to a hero that should be upholding Sheldon's code or whatever. And so I thought this scene was very, very telling of maybe Walter's future character, which I think has completely diverged with his past character that we kind of have come to. He's very self-assured. He's very confident, which is completely opposite of what we see of him in the past. And then I'm how this all ties into Skyfox. I mean, him and George, I mean, they have this crazy history. And so even though they figured out how to set aside their differences in order to get these powers and maybe work together for a time, whatever caused George to go against them is, I think, more directly maybe tied into Walt. It's feeling more and more personal between the two of them than maybe it is personal between the five of them or whatever. It's not, we have no idea what happened to Richard, but them versus Skyfox.
I think you're hitting on something there because he's proven himself loyal to Sheldon. I don't see that friendship breaking. So you could be right that it's something that Walt maybe caused him to disappear for.
Yeah, I think something with him and Walt.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's because Blackstar says, like, he got along with George, and that George was like understood that, basically that Sheldon was using the code to stay in control and power, and we get Walt like not afraid to just like stop Blackstar's breath, and like you said, kind of villainous there, but then like it's like Blackstar like threatens him and says like, you think killing the clone was hard, and he's like, it's not, he basically said, I'm not my brother. Like, we get this breakdown of like, I'm supporting my brother, but don't think that, I'd have to necessarily follow after his rules. So yeah, I can see how like something between Walt and George is, it was that caused the break rather than the other way around. So
yeah.
And again, with Walt showing power, like he cut off Blackstar's breathing. Like that's crazy. So I wonder if he could kill Blackstar by himself if he needed to. So it calls back to the original fight. Why didn't he do more to stop it before Brandon had to?
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Because first he went into his mind to try to see what was going on, but that it's just a clone and it was all messed up. So
I guess because of the code, maybe?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I want to ask something. When are we going to get to see Skyfox? Because again, X-Force, in your image, he's to the left of you. He's very Batman-like, but there's a fox head on his chest instead of a bat. I want to see him. I want to see Skyfox.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know. I do too, but we've only got one episode left, so we'll see.
He should pop up. I'm sure we're gonna see him.
Yeah.
Either that or Matt Lanterner's really pissed off that he never got to dress up in the costume while everybody else did.
Yeah.
Well, he did for that promo picture.
Yeah, that was fun.
So the group goes in, and we get this scene. We get an answer. We find out that when Raikou shows up, Sheldon says even Walt can't read my mind, so don't even try to read my mind. So we kind of wondered the limitations on the mind reading, but we get an answer here that evidently Sheldon's impervious.
Well, it goes back to when he held the teleporting stick and it didn't work.
True.
So Sheldon is obviously like, he is the most powerful out of all of them, and none of them can use their powers against him, is what I think they're trying to tell us.
Yeah.
He's the Utopian. He's just like, he's the leader. He's the head of this team, and they gave him every power. Yeah, it's great. It's crazy.
So they begin the procedure, and Fitz still has his powers, but he's definitely needs help. So Petra gives him the hand to basically be the power battery to help jumpstart the clone's brain.
Yeah, because he says, give me a boost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you get Raikou and Walt basically digging in mentally to the clone's mind, and as much as I could, there was some flashes on screen, but I could not like pause to see what exactly there was. Like, it was like almost like a red face or something, but I could not pause fast enough to see what he was seeing, and it wasn't a whole lot to hear either, but it was not working for me. I couldn't dig in.
Yeah, I don't think we were supposed to. Like, it's showing us again that this is just a clone. They're not going to be able to get much out of it. It's a mindless automaton is kind of what I keep thinking of it as.
I think it's a trap.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. Because Walt gets in trouble, and basically, his daughters basically holding open the pathway so his mind and body basically don't get separated.
Stuck.
Yeah. So
Right. That's true. But have we ever discussed, like, why is Fitz in a wheelchair? Because you see on the side of his head, he's got a lot of scarring on the one side of his face. And he's obviously permanently injured. So I'm wondering if we'll find out what happened to him.
Probably not. I don't think we will. I think that would have been a season 2 story.
Yeah, I mean,
Or later.
Yeah, we know, he was injured, but like, I'm not gonna look at, to see if they show us that in the last episode. So, but anyway,
I doubt it. I think that would have been a season 2 or possibly 3 storyline that got explored.
Yeah. So,
unfortunately, but yeah, there's clearly something happened.
Yeah.
But,
yeah. Before you go too far, I am at that scene. I'm just kind of scanning where you're talking about how it was flashing so fast. There is a red face, and I managed to pause it briefly for a second on. It's hard to. It's somebody's face, and it looks like it has red cellophane stretched across the face, and they're trying to push their face through. So it is really hard to tell who it is. It's not a face that I can recognize, but that's what those flashy images were that were going through. Was just somebody's face is trying to break through this red layer of something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's really, you're right. It's like, it's not even a second long scene. It is hard to nail it to pause right on it, but
yeah.
It might actually be Walt's face. That it looks similar to him. So there you go. If that gives us any idea, I don't know.
Yeah, a trap.
Yeah, I think it's a trap for sure.
Yeah.
All right.
Is that where I guess
we kind of came to the end of the note? So
okay.
any final
I'll close
points?
the. I was stuck. I was still trying to hit that damn pause scene. Right on.
No, I don't think we can get any more out of that for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's pause for ads break. I can't speak anymore. Pause for ad break right here before we get to our favorite scenes.
Shape out an eagle!
All right, so favorite scenes, guys. I don't know if you guys realize this, but everyone we picked is a pretty dang long scene. So these are going to be our longest scenes strung together we've done, but they are so good. So
yeah,
just be prepared. X-Force kicks us off.
Yes, indeed. So I called this one Grace Pleads for Sheldon to Listen. So let's take a listen.
You mind telling me what that was about?
Seemed pretty self-explanatory.
No, I guess I'm a little slow today.
The clock was ticking. I made a decision.
And so did I. We've seen enough dissension lately. You don't need to be adding to it.
I didn't realize that having an opposing view to yours was considered dissension now.
The Union hasn't been this unstable since Skyfox turned on us. You and I especially need to show a united front.
No. I can't do that. Not when I disagree with you.
I'm doing everything I can to keep this thing from falling apart.
Well, it's not working. The code is broken.
The code is not broken. It's being challenged.
No, it is broken when Ghostbeam dies and Baryon lives.
So what are you proposing? That we just abandon the very values that we built this whole thing on? Just throw it all
I don't
away?
know. I just want to be able to talk about whatever this is right now. Discuss options. Try to fix it. We live in a different time. It's not the 1930s anymore.
Well, that's why we need to stick to the code even more. The country needs it right now more than ever.
No, it's why you need it more than ever. Please. You always said that we had to uphold the code because the alternative would take free will away from the people.
Yes. there would be consequences.
Well, now you're taking it away yourself by trying to control everything.
Whose free will am I trying to take away exactly?
Brandon. Chloe.
They made their own choices.
Me. And all those young supers. Those kids out there, they feel unheard. Like we don't have their back. They're scared, Sheldon. We're asking them to blindly believe in something that doesn't make sense anymore.
Is that how you feel?
You know, when I was younger, I spent my time asking questions, seeking the truth, and somewhere along the way, I lost that. We made a lot of sacrifices putting on these uniforms and living this life. I will not make truth one of them, not anymore.
What do you want me to do?
I just want you to listen. Really hear what people are saying, what they're afraid of, and then talk to them. Don't you remember the island and what we had to do to earn these powers? That's what you need to do now.
Grace, you have no idea what I need to do.
Man.
It's a great scene.
I mean,
Great scene.
Do we all side with Grace on this? Where does everyone feel and land on that? Because I have been trying to back Sheldon for a long, long time because I'm very traditional and classic in a lot of the ways I feel about things, but he does need a wake-up call. I still agree with his sentiments of certain things about the way the world used to be would very much help today's world, because today's world is out of control with a lot of the society issues and crap that's going on. But he also needs a wake-up call that there's a different way you have to go about it to bring back cohesion to everything.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I think it's just that he's out of balance, and he needs to listen to her to bring back into balance. It's not that the code necessarily is wrong, but like he has to have that balance there, and he's been carrying so much on his own shoulders for so long that, you know, he's just not listening to her to get that balance that he needs, even when she's trying to point out, like, look at what happened in the past. Like, you know, we were at each other's throats. And so, yeah, it's just, he's out of balance. So
I wonder if they're going to come to a confrontation. Grace versus Utopian. Liberty, what's her name? Liberty Girl?
Lady Liberty.
Lady Liberty versus
Liberty.
Utopian.
Yeah.
Just to smack some sense into him.
Perhaps.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Oof. Well, my scene just continues the heaviness of this episode. Jess is going to light us up, but mine is called Airing Your Dirty Laundry, and this is all about basically the worst time to air your dirty laundry, to let it all out when you're traversing along a narrow ledge of what looks like a bottomless cavern, and Walt is overcome by fear and jealousy and anger thanks to the island testing them, and he blasts Sheldon with what he's been feeling their whole lives. Here's that moment.
Hey, whoa, was it true what you said earlier? I said a lot of things. How about me being Dad's golden boy? Why don't you focus on where you're going? You know, I always thought you were Dad's favorite. I mean, you're the one that got the good grades. You were his right-hand man at the company. That's what someone looks for in an employee, not a son. You see, that's your problem, Walt. You can't take a compliment. Everything is a slight. You know, maybe if you lightened up a bit, George wouldn't be so hard on you.
Don't even bring him into it.
exactly your problem, Walt. You want to know what my problem is? He's taking a back seat to a younger brother who never deserved half the attention he received, who had everything handed to him so he didn't have to fight for a scrap. See, it comes easy to you, Shell. Because people always agree with whatever you propose. Like you're some kind of messiah. You snap your fingers and people follow. You have no idea what it feels like to have no one take you seriously, even when you know you're right.
Oh, this is not true. Come on.
Dad would still be alive if you listened to me! No, I told you, Shell, that it wasn't time to expand the company, and you treated it like gossip. You ridiculed me. You didn't listen, Shell. You never listen. No, just keep moving.
Yeah. I feel bad for Walt there because he has been hanging on to all of that his whole life. Wow.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, it was a very powerful scene.
Yeah. And, I mean, props to Sheldon because he wasn't taking it as a personal attack. He still reached out to put his hand on his brother's shoulder. Like, you know, I'm glad you're saying all this. We can work all this out. And you know, and that's when he's like, just turn around and keep moving because he's scared as hell. He wants to get out of there. But, yeah. Good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Harley, wrap us with best moment we've seen in a long time.
Yes, so I called this moment Jupiter's Legacy.
Completed the ordeal. You have succeeded where so many others have failed.
Succeeded where so many have failed. You have crossed untold distances.
You have crossed untold distances.
Suffered unthinkable loss.
Unthinkable loss.
Suffered unthinkable loss.
Suffered unthinkable loss. Yet you have prevailed.
And you are found worthy.
We're getting the hell out of here! Captain!
I had to play out the whole scene because that music,
Okay.
Yeah.
that music was just reaching an epic peak of just heroic awesomeness. It was so cool.
It was. I mean, it's the moment we've all been waiting for. We've been wanting to see them get the powers and see, the island and everything that was all about. So it was good. It was a good moment. So
I'm worried that the finale is not going to live up to how good this episode was.
I think it's distinctly possible.
Yeah.
Because that was so damn cool. I'm going to go watch it. I'm going to get Lisa to watch it with me if I can. You got to watch this one episode. Come on.
Yeah, I'll be watching it early since I've got a really busy week, so I know I'll get on it soon. So.
Oh, you're going to have to bite your tongue all week.
Well, as busy as I'm going to be this week, that should be a problem.
Good clips. All right. If you would like to support the show, and we appreciate it if you can, and we appreciate those that do, this is how you can support the show.
If you'd like to support our podcast, you can do so at our Patreon page at www.patreon.com/tomorrowslegends.
All right, we got a pair of emails tonight, and we're going to kick it off with Comic Geek Kev.
So, just a quick note about the Tokyo scene. The guys in black carrying the umbrellas were totally not covering the guy in the white from the rain. Visually, it's a cool contrast if shot from above. But isn't the point that they'd be protecting him from the rain? Rain, Raikou, they didn't protect him from anything. Cool fight scene and Mind Palace effect, though.
Mind Palace, I like that term.
Yeah.
Yeah. Grace can tell when people lie. Did we know this? Seems like a handy-dandy power to have as a parent.
True.
Yeah.
So true.
Did they explain that? Was that part of her superpowers, or is she just really good at reading people?
No, that's one of her powers according to the wiki. So yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
She doesn't need the lasso of truth, Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
Take that.
The island scenes are pretty great. Show of hands. Who would have pooped themselves when the tree just popped up like that?
Me.
Yeah.
I think all of us. But aside from the effects stuff, the characters and their interactions were really well done. Walter has really come off as a kind of a schmuck, but when he finally expressed what he felt about Sheldon and their dad, it helped explain quite a bit, and the performance was really good.
Yes.
Yes. And now we see that other people have been to the island in the past. This is what I was getting at last week. I'd love to see some of those stories. It was weird how those artifacts were under those tree roots. How did they get there? And Grace proves her smarts once again by deducing the previous visitors killed each other as a test by the island. So much history that could have been explored if we had gotten more seasons. I know.
Could you imagine flashbacks of the Vikings and stuff like that? Just moments to see what they were doing? That would have been cool.
Yeah.
That would have been cool. Did those other groups have one person that had the visions? Were their dead relatives involved? Family members joining them? So many questions to explore.
And we asked all the same ones.
Very cool effects this episode. The charging up of Blackstar was pretty basic, but the effect of the connection to him was a nice touch, as opposed to just putting fingers to forehead or something. And the island lights and stuff was well done. And did we notice that when the lights ran across the boat, that there were at least a couple people whose faces lit up with the designs from the island? I didn't go back, so I'm not sure how many it happened to.
Yeah, we'll have to take a look at that.
So not a whole lot else to say about the present day stuff. I get what they're doing, but not a whole lot happened. But surely more for the next episode. I did enjoy the boat conversation between Grace and Sheldon. Good stuff. Code. I think that's supposed to say code conversation. Still don't like Chloe. That last scene, goosebumps. I'm giving this one a 9.5 out of 10 caved skulls. Until next time, Comic Kev.
Yeah.
Caved skulls. I like it.
Right there with you. 9.5.
1 second here, guys. I am at the scene when the boat people are being hit by the powers. I'll see if I can do a quick pause and count on how many faces we get hit with here for symbols. Okay, there goes the wave. Let's see. The captain's walking into the frame now. I'm just gonna. Okay. 1, 2. They only show 2 people. The captain and the original guy that said, "Hey, Captain, look." It was the guy wearing the thick black sailor sweater and the little hat. That's the only 2 that distinctly show their faces.
Interesting.
So, there you go. Good stuff, Kev. All right. Next up is an email from Vanguard. We don't get to hear his voice this week. I'm going to have to try to read this as best I can. Hey, Union of Justice Leaguers, Vanguard here with feedback for Jupiter's Legacy, penultimate episode, Omnes pro uno, all for one. One could argue that the title is appropriate because when the team put aside their differences for one common purpose, they were bestowed with powers. At the same time, one could argue that the title, All for One, is appropriate because in the past and in the present, everything seems to revolve around Sheldon, for better or for worse. So on to the episode. I'm going to preface my comments by saying I thought the episode was interesting, but going back to my feedback from the previous episode, I feel like the show could have laid better groundwork for some of the things that happened in this one. I feel like we should have spent a bit more time demonstrating the heroism inside each of the characters before they got their powers. That way, their superheroism would feel more organic and earned. Maybe, though, the show planned to use Season 2 exploring the struggles and moral dilemmas they all face, deciding how they would use their gifts, whether for altruistic reason, personal gain, or abuse. Those are the kinds of moral dilemmas this show is built for, and it's tragic that we won't get to see that in a Season 2.
Indeed.
Yep.
Moving on, I also think spending a bit more time with each character would have generated a bigger payoff for the scene inside the cave when they were all being addressed by their ancestors. Without that background, it's a bit jarring seeing people we don't know delivering such a key message. Like I said, even with those issues, I think the episode was solid and certainly sets us up for the finale. Well, that's too bad, Vanguard, because we loved it. That moment was just so epic for me. It's too bad you were kind of taken out of the moment. I don't know. Maybe a rewatch after what we said might invigorate your energy. I don't know. Like I said, even with those... So here are my predictions for the final episode. I promise I haven't watched it yet or read the synopsis. Good. Either have I. Star Fox is going to return either at the end of the episode or a post-credit scene. Walt, Brainwave, is going to die. Sheldon is going to come really close to breaking the code, but won't. And here... Oh, okay. I don't know. Star Fox going to return? I agree with that. Brainwave going to die? Possible. And Sheldon going to come really close to breaking the code. I actually agree with that. Strong possibility. Yeah. Here are questions for which I need answers and probably won't get them. What is the cosmic entity that's been pulling people to the island apparently for centuries? Yes. Why specifically was Sheldon and this group chosen? How did everyone else over time get their powers? Is it possible that Star Fox used technology to bestow powers upon other folks who were perhaps not deemed worthy, and that's why the team split? Anyway, this has been Vanguard, leading the Union of Justice into battle. Let's go! Did my best for you, Vanguard.
Yeah.
Yeah, again, does Skyfox do something? Because in that epic moment, we see him flying down out of the sky with everybody else.
Yep.
So does he have some superpowers?
I mean, he does have powers, but you know, so he does have powers. That they have a lot of them have amalgamations. Like the Flare is like a combination of a Green Lantern and the Flash, because he's got super speed,
right?
You know, of course, like so they've got combination powers. So he's got technology powers in addition to, you know, flight and something else. But yeah,
Interesting. I hope we see him. I hope we get to see Matt Lanter suited up in the past. We should. I mean, they just introduced them. We should get a couple more scenes from the past of them forming the Justice Society or whatever it is they're doing. We should see that.
Yeah.
So, cool. Good thoughts, Vanguard and Comic Geek Kev. As always, one more episode to go. Let's see how this wraps up. I'm excited and sad, but we'll see. Get your thoughts in for the finale, guys. Anybody else out there want to get their thoughts in for the last episode? Just listen to this.
If you would like to be a part of the show, you can send in your feedback to tomorrowslegendspodcast@gmail.com. You can also reach us on Twitter at Tomorrow's Legends. We'd love you to join our Facebook page at facebook.com/groups/Tomorrow's Legends and become part of the community.
All right. Yeah, like we said, one more. One more of this awesome show.
Yeah.
Oh, well. I'm glad we covered it. I'm glad we found it.
It's been good.
Yeah.
It's been a fun ride. Yeah. I really enjoyed it. Yeah.
Me too.
And how much of a break are we going to take?
So we are going to take about a 3-week break. So, we'll have about 3 weeks and come back mid-April for tomorrow people.
Okay. Jess really needs the break right now.
I think we all do.
Well, I will be having some surgery, so I will need the break as well. So otherwise, y'all will be doing it without me. So
definitely, it's just because Jess kept having her eyes closed for a moment there, so I was just picking on her.
Long
I know. It's I didn't get a lot of sleep last night. I'm tired.
All right, guys. Well, everyone take care. Have a great weekend, and we'll talk to you next week for the finale. This is Cyberhawk signing off.
And I'm Harley Quinn. I'm out.
This is the Deacon. So say we all.
Tomorrow's Legends is not affiliated with CBS, Warner Brothers, HBO, or the CW. We're a fan-made podcast for entertainment purposes only and are part of the Cybercast Network. Be sure to check out our partner shows, The Mandalore and Dive into DC, covering your favorite Star Wars and DC Comics properties. Thanks for listening.